These are companies that have gotten public, but you know, the valuation that we're willing to pay and the valuation that's going to be paid on the other end has everything to do with margin and growth. The company itself doesn't have to make any money. And in fact, you know, we help build companies from a few $1 million to typically 30, 40, 50 million at the most. And when things work well, we sell them for 5, 6, 7 times revenue, and they don't make any money. Because the strategic buyer isn't buying the EBITDA, they're buying that growth opportunity. So, you know, you understand that, but you can also see, you know, a 10% growing SaaS company may be valued at 2 times revenue. Hey, that's still a decent company, and double-digit growth in chicken feed, but 30, 40, 50%, you know, you're going to get an 8 or 10 multiple on that at the end, and it is the market respects and will live with these kinds of metrics. You know, we used to invest a lot more broadly. We've narrowed that down into software as a service, a lot of medical technology, because we know that the buyers will think like this. You know, it's kind of understood how things are going to work when you get to the other end of the rainbow. You know, in other industries, you either don't know or it's just a different dynamic. Also, by size, you know, on a sub $10 million company, boy, should you be paying 8 times revenue, because they haven't proven what that $50 million company has proven by the virtue that they got the $50 million, right? I mean, and entrepreneurs down at the lower end will say, hey, public comps. You know, I'm in the service desk space, and ServiceNow is valued at 11 times revenue. So give me 11, okay, discounted, give me 9. Well, yeah, but they're the 1 out of 1,000 that got there. You know, there's a little bit of survivor bias, and we can't give you credit for what you haven't done yet. We will give you some credit for the opportunity, some credit for the competency that we believe that you have, but we can't give you all the credit up front, or else there's probably not enough left for us. This is yours. It's a cow. I don't get this one. I got the other 2.
Well, before we go to questions, Brian has a couple of comments.
I keep my slides right up here.
No
that
slides.
Way I'm more valuable that way, because then they got to keep me around.
More cow slides?
I don't know. I can't figure it out either. But you know, one of the things that you've heard a lot of today, and just to pull one last idea together, is what I loosely refer to as finance risk. So you've heard it from a couple different angles, from Dan, from John, from Tony, and that means to me that we have to be very careful about how we invest, and that means valuation, that means the size of the round, and ultimately, does the size of the round provide enough runway for the entrepreneur or management team to grow the business enough so that any subsequent capital that comes in doesn't demolish your initial standing? So, you know, we see this a lot where entrepreneurs will come in and they'll ask for $500,000, $1 million. The number is somewhat irrelevant, because what in many cases they haven't done is thought through the process of exactly where that money is going to go, where the validation points are for that money, and how that translates into increase, hopefully, in valuation. So one of the things that's so great, I think, about what QCA does is as John said, 50. You've got 50 people that are successful in whatever it is that they've done, be it engineering or finance or legal or whatever, but the group base is extremely dynamic. And so it gives us a lot of intelligence into what these industries should be expecting. What are the inflection points that will increase value of the company? And you know, it's hard because a lot of these companies come in and they all look like puppies. They're all really cute and you love them all. Sometimes puppies grow up and they're ugly, and it's just not always the initial impact is not what you want to invest on. You want to invest on the end, and getting in right early on is extremely important. I think when you look at the long-term investment strategy of QCA, and you can see it in some of the fund companies that Tony presented earlier. The quality of companies that we've gotten involved in over time have increased. I'm sure Dan would say the same thing. The longer that you do these things, the better your intelligence, the better you get at doing it, and that's one of the core advantages. So we're happy to talk about that or any other questions you have in the last moments here.
Yeah, I just want to make one add-on to that, though, is that the value of the collective wisdom and the collective perspective, and in particular, all of the lessons learned from the good old school of hard knocks. You know, our firm is and has accomplished what it accomplished over the last 10 years, mainly based upon learning from the failures of the first 10 years. And being fortunate enough to have had our share of successes when our batting average wasn't very high to carry us through to what is, I think, now a more sustainable business model. But, you know, we were supposed to be relatively intelligent, experienced people doing what we were doing. And boy, if you look at some of these lessons that are clear as day to us now, but, you know, we made these glaring mistakes that, you know,
puppies are cute.
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know. And so to appreciate that, you know, if you're doing a friends and family deal, that level of risk is just a lot different than if you're doing a deal with a group that's got process, yes, but more importantly, perspective. And that perspective usually isn't a one-person perspective. It is a consensus perspective.